Okay, let's go. I played a game 2 days ago. I played as black and I basically already analyzed it with my opponent. It was a pretty short game. But it was pretty, so let's take a look at it. I think I don't need to look at any of the annotation. I think I memorized it. Yeah, let's just play it. I don't think... I mean, there are some moments where I don't want the engine to be on, so let's just not do that then. So my opponent played e4, and I play Sicilian. My opponent played the Alapin Sicilian, and I know the Alapin Sicilian a bit, and I know that you should pretty much just play d5. I believe immediately, actually. Apparently knight f6 is also good, but I was taught that you should just play d5 immediately. And then you get this. I for a second considered here knight f6 instead, but usually the point of knight f6 in these types of positions where you can take back the pawn with the knight instead of the queen is because the other knight will defend, and if you take with the queen instead of the other knight attacking you, or actually if then you... Okay, let me rephrase that. You play knight f6, knight c3, take. You can take, not d4. Come on. Close enough. There, yeah. And then you still get the same position but without the knights, and then the knight can't kick you. But in this position, the knight can't kick me because there's a pawn on c3. My opponent did not play d4, which is apparently the most played move, and it makes 100% just makes sense to me. My opponent played knight f3, which felt a bit weird. And like, I mean, I'm out of prep. I've been out of prep. Well, technically I'm out of prep in every position in this opening after this queen takes d5. But this one, it just felt a bit weird. Because, well, my opponent should play d4. So what if I just prevent that? And now d4 is very difficult. Turns out this is a bad move. And the reason is not obvious yet, but it will be after a while. So but it looks like, I mean, I've got a great center, my pieces have potential, I can develop how I want, I can castle, and once I'm castled I think I'm better, if nothing happens. But here's the issue. My opponent played knight a3, which tries to kick my queen out with bishop c4, and I mean, I can't stop that. There are also some issues with knight b5, so I need to find a way to defend that. And what I found is I just put my bishop here for multi-purpose, defending this pawn, defending c7. But first I played knight c6, which is still apparently the best move. And on knight b5 I would have played bishop d6 and just traded. That would have been fine. My opponent did play bishop c4. I mean, queen e4. I missed queen e4 actually, but like, that's not really a move I would have played regardless, I don't think, because my queen is good and this would basically force a queen trade. So I went back to d8, all the way to d8, not d7, because I didn't realize the issue I had yet. What happened here? My opponent castled. I played bishop d6 for multi-purpose things, and now after knight b5 I can even go back to b8. and rook e1. And here the issue of e5 presents itself. It's attacked twice, defended twice. That's not a big issue. The big issue is, how do I develop? Because e5 can be under threat at some point after the move d4. d4 is kind of a threat. And it's really hard to stop, and actually I don't think it is stoppable. So let's say I allow d4, then I need to find a good move. Okay, good moves. This bishop can develop, let's say here, but there's an issue with queen b3, and I'd lose a pawn. Actually, I can defend it here. Actually, I would have gone there, by the way. Maybe bishop g4 is fine. Knight f6 has the issue that after d4, I mean, I can't use this pawn to support the e pawn. I can take once, but then I just lose a pawn regardless. Knight takes 6 is obviously bad for multiple reasons, and the move that I played, knight e7, is also terrible. And we'll get to why that is, because well, the main thing is that it blocks the queen, so there is some pressure here, and like the issue is not necessarily just f7, it is after I castle, so I can only defend it by playing rook f8 or castling. So I castle, and then you get queen h5, which is, I missed that it attacked both of these things, and that I don't have an elegant way out. Unfortunately, I missed that I didn't have anything here. I played bishop f5, which prevents this, but like I still need to sack an exchange here. And this position I thought was very interesting, because I'm down 3 points of material, and like I think the engine is a bit of a scumbag here. It doesn't care about how difficult a position is to play for a side, and just says, oh, here's the best continuation for white. You can easily get a +2.5, right? Something like that. +3 even position by playing the best moves. But it's actually very difficult to play this position, and my opponent actually tanked for quite a bit in this position, trying to find a good continuation. And they actually didn't find the best plan. They found an okay plan. They also missed one trick at the end somewhere, which is interesting. But yeah, if you just look at this position, this knight is worth, well, I mean, it can't go here, it can go here, but then it eventually gets kicked out again, and it has to just has to stick on a3. So this knight is out of the game. The bishop is out of the game. This rook is out of the game, as long as the bishop is out of the game. You can't play d4. d3 can be played, and was the move. But that also kind of loses a pawn. Yeah. So the whites, this queen is actually not great here. It doesn't really do anything and doesn't have a good way to move. I have a center. I have two strong pieces here, two very strong pieces actually. This bishop is great. This knight's also good. This knight is pretty useful, and this bishop has enough tasks to be worth it, basically. And my queen is actually very also great. It on this d file it does work. It does. It defends here. It defends this knight. It has some prospects of using some diagonals if I manage to push e4 or something. Plans and stuff. My opponent did not play d3. My opponent tried to... Well, my opponent just played a different move and then played d3. So first they played knight b5 and I don't want to trade. So I played back to b8 and then played d3. The point being that this is kind of disconnected now, and like this I would get mated, because like you have to block and then it's just checkmate. So I can't move my queen off the back rank, so this is very tricky. It's just unsure if I'm able to do that. I considered it and I decided that I should kick the knight first. The knight has nowhere to go other than all the way back. I made a slight inaccuracy here. I played b5. It doesn't matter at all. And then after bishop e6 to keep the bishop in play, because after bishop b3 I have c4 issues. Then I just took the pawn. One of the things I calculated was after rook d8 or rook d1 I can't play e4, or sorry, I can't play c4. I have to play e4 because c4 you can just sack, because this is check and I can't take back. If I could take back with a rook I would play this, but I'm missing a move here, because then I threaten mate back and this bishop actually attacks the queen, which is cool. Actually that doesn't work because of queen f3. But yeah, still I'd have to play e4 and then, I mean, my piece is slowly, and after e4 my knight gets here, then I can play like stuff, I don't know. My position honestly felt way better than it had any reason to, and like the engine doesn't care. It finds bishop h6, which is devastating because of my move b5. My opponent didn't find that though. So I want to actually show this line. So the engine gives this line, bishop h6, defending, threatening mate. The only move I have is queen g8. Sack the piece, check, forcing my knight to block, and then it picks up this knight. And that was the line. But and I obviously can't. Oh, also importantly, I can't take because this is just checkmate. But yeah, that's what the engine said that they should do. They actually played bishop g5 instead, which is also good. But they did need, I at least argued, and they for the most part agreed with me, that they needed to see the next move already. And actually, fortunately for them, they mentioned they saw the next move here, because my plan is very obvious and is actually very strong if allowed. So I played bishop g6, and the normal moves, let's look at those for a second. So the queen only has one square it can go to survive, so you can play queen f3. Then I play e4, unlocking this bishop, and there are only two moves that we found. So you can play queen d1 to prevent this double attack, which would have won a piece probably, or sack the rook back. And then we'd play this, I'd be down a pawn, but this seems playable at least. I'd play probably this, like knight c2, all seems reasonable. And I think, I mean, my opponent is a bit stronger than I am, but I think I'd probably be able to draw this, especially here, because I just get, okay, no, this is winning, but like after a normal move like, I don't know, g3, something like this. I don't know. I think I'd be able to hold this for a draw, maybe. I'd have a chance at least, which is shocking since I'm plus 4, I'm minus 4 already. But those are the two normal moves, and then my opponent did that. And I resigned. But there is an interesting reason why. So if I take with the knight, that's the easy one. This is a trade. And why is this terrible? Well, in this position, my queen is great, my bishop is great. I have a lot of potential actually. I have dynamic play as compensation, and the engine says that's nothing, but I disagree and my opponent disagreed, because it's not easy to play for white against a center like this and pieces like that. And my queen is already active, my rook can go here probably at some point, maybe here. It's just, it's an interesting position, and yeah, it's very playable. And then after bishop g6, this is not playable. Like something like this, and I'm already struggling to hold my position, and now the value of the exchange is becoming more obvious. This knight can get into the action somehow, probably. I don't know. The rooks are active, my pieces are a bit bad, so this would have been terrible. And the other outcome is h takes g4, which is also really cool. So, and then my opponent would have played rook h4, and this is a mate threat, and the only way to prevent it is by sacking my queen in one way or the other. These are the only 3 moves that prevent mate, and all of them lose a queen for a piece. Which is, yeah, that's just cool. So, and that this way I looked at a bit, and my opponent also looked at it a bit, but this is just, okay, that's a bad move, but this is just a worse version than this. So here I decided to resign, which makes total sense. And like, let's see how accurate that was. Yeah, I mean, they needed to find that move, but after queen f3, e4, yeah, engine says sack the rook. Queen h3 is also playable because it defends stuff, yeah. Would not have found that. Third option is take this knight, which, I mean, that's a decent play for me. And queen d1, yeah, queen c7, g3. I'd play this, knight e4, knight e5. This is very playable, which is shocking because, like, yeah, that happened. And actually I can show you this probably. So e4, okay, e5 is not that terrible yet. Okay, apparently you really need to play queen e4, but I would have said this, but apparently this is just fine. Oh yeah, okay, no, that's fine. I did not know you had to play queen e4, and queen d8 is the second move. Makes total sense as well. But like, I mean, e4, I saw that e4 is possible, but I didn't see how it would help. So I played this, and that's already losing. Damn. Okay, this is not that bad. Yeah, you have to play knight f6, and this is a pawn sack. Because you just... yeah. This is a pawn sack variation. you have to go into already. But yeah, that's the game. I got crushed here, and there's nothing I can do here. Like, there was also a moment I looked at rook f8 here, but I assume just take, go back, and then you consider other stuff. Yeah. Okay, whatever. That was the game. See you next time, which is gonna be early February. See you there.